Thomas Jane must be a fan of the Twilight Zone, or at the very least, Creepshow. Because if there was something that ever came out of Creepshow or the Twilight Zone, it is Dark Country. Dark Country I picked up used, that's why it's got somebody's initials on here. I have no idea what it means. M&M's, who knows. But this was Thomas Jane's directorial debut. He's been in plenty of things, and let's see, how long ago was this movie made? 2009. A 2009 movie. Yeah. And the graphics, in regards to, like, there's a lot of CG in places, and it kind of takes you out of the movie for a second until you realize maybe that's on purpose. It feels kind of Sin City-ish, you know? So you can forgive it a little bit for how it looks and how distracting or whatever it is. It doesn't take you out of the movie too much. Dark Country is... gonna try to explain it. It's Twilight Zone. You know how Twilight Zone gets. It's... The lure of a Twilight Zone story is something that makes you think that's a little bit unexplainable, that it's a little bit hard to be explained at the same time. Dark Country is one of those things. It's a time loop type of story. We have here a newlywed couple who just got married in Vegas, Thomas Jane and Laura Garman. These two are driving along a desert road in the middle of the night, heading for... I can't remember the name. Starts with an S. But they're in the middle of the desert, leaving Vegas. And they're in the desert, driving along, whatever. It's a dead road. There's nobody out there. We open the film with an opening scene where Thomas Jane encounters a creepy dude in a diner who says to take care of his wife, his newlywed wife, and be careful out there on the road because people go missing. And that's exactly what happens. Thomas Jane and Laura Garman. I keep saying Graham, I don't know why. They're out there on the road and they go missing because when they're out there, there's some heat lightning, splashy, flash. Then suddenly they're on an endless dirt road that goes endlessly out there, and there's nobody, there's no other cars, there's nothing out there. And then they encounter a silhouette of a dude in the middle of the road, and they almost run him over. They don't. They get out to check on the dude. He's been beat up. His face is all burned off and scratched up and scuffed up. So they look at the car crash up ahead, and they go like, oh, so these guys must have been from that car crash. So they gotta go get help. The cell phones don't work, obviously. So they have to turn around and head back to the diner, I guess, to the nearest civilization. They're out in the desert, obviously. There's a little bit scarce civilization to be found. But they're gonna try, because he's trying to do his good Samaritan thing, or whatever. So they're out the road, and the guy wakes up, the bloody guy. He wakes up, and he freaks out, going like, this can't be happening, blah, 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 let me out of the car, blah, 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 blah. And he acts very familiar with both Thomas Jane's character and Laura Garman's character, as if he knows both of these people. And it's a little bit jarring, it's a little bit confusing, and then he suddenly turns on Thomas Jane, and they two have a fight. The two fight, and then Thomas Jane kills the bloodied man. And he thinks that the bloodied man attacked him. He must know Laura Garman or something must have happened. And he starts suspecting Laura Garman. Laura Garman starts suspecting him. And they bicker for the next 20 to 30 minutes until they find a rest stop. They decide to hide the body. They're going to hide the body, so they bury the body. They go to the rest stop. They're bickering in the restaurant. And there's a bunch of cars parked out there, and it's like, wow, why are all these guys out here? Where were they on the road, right? And you get to suspect there's something going on. So they decide to split up. She's going to stay at the rest stop while he goes back to the side of the body, because he left his watch there. His watch has his own name, his engraving on it, so he can't leave that there, the scene of the hit and run, you know. So he goes back to find the body, to find his watch, and suddenly he sees lightning flash on the road ahead of him, and he almost runs into a cop, played by Ron Perlman. This cop is skeptical of Thomas Jane's story, to say the least. He leaves a lot of things out, Thomas Jane does, but he says that his wife is missing and he's looking for her. So Ron Perlman gets a call on the radio and he goes over to where they find the site of a bunch of old cars just sitting out there. And Thomas Jane's starting to freak out because all of these cars look progressively more and more older, as if they've been sitting out here for a long time. And he goes like, where's the rest stop? Because he recognizes these cars for having been parked at the rest stop. And the guy, Ron Perlman, says, there's been no rest stop here for 30 years. You get to suspect there's some sort of time loop thing going on, right? So Thomas Jane freaks out. He escapes the cops. He takes one of the cars that's parked out here, which apparently has fuel. So he gets in the car and apparently starts right up. I have no idea how long that thing's been sitting there, but it starts right up. He finds, right before he does this, though, the cops unearth one of the bodies in the ground, and one of the bodies happens to be his wife. His wife has been killed. Who killed his wife? It doesn't say. The entire film after this, it doesn't say. It's never shown or told to you at all who killed his wife, who killed all the other people, because Thomas Jane does find other graves with freshly killed bodies in there. They're not the bodies of his wife, they're other people that have gone missing. And he's wondering what's going on here, right? What's happening? Well, it doesn't tell you the rest of the film. So we're going to talk about the rest of the film, then we're going to get back to what's going on, right? Or at least try to. So he's escaping from the cops, and then he sees a flash of light. He's back on the road, and then the flashlight gets him all twisty, combobulated, and his car flips and goes into a roll, and an explosion crash. He's seen out the road, and then he sees another flashlight. And when he comes to, he's in the backseat of his own car, and he hears his wife and himself bickering. And that's right. It's a time loop thing. The burned, bloody man from the start of the film is Thomas Jane. And he's freaking out. He's trying to figure out what's going on and why all of this is happening. And you are trying to find out what's going on and why this is happening. But then the end credits show up. The credits start to roll, and you realize you're not gonna get answers. You're not gonna get any answers. You're not gonna get any at all. So there's no clue who killed the people who killed his wife. You don't know. It's a very psychologically thriller, I guess that's what they call it in the back. Let's see. A psychological thriller that puts you on the edge of your seat. Yeah, well, I have no idea who killed his wife. I have no idea who killed the other people. I have no idea who left those cars there. But they do have hints throughout the film. At the very beginning of the film, at the diner, Thomas Jane sees some missing photos. There's a bunch of people that have gone missing. And you begin to wonder what's going on there, right? You begin to wonder what's going on, why they're gone missing. And then there was one thing that was said by Ron Perlman at the crime scene when they dug up his wife's body. He says, these are all the ladies, where are the men, where are the bodies of the men? Using all these cars that are like couples, right? They must be couples. Where are the bodies of the men? There's no men bodies, only women have been buried out here. So maybe we could start to formulate our own theory on what happened here. And this is my theory on what happened. Thomas Jane is a serial killer who is severely mentally disturbed, and he marries a bunch of women in Las Vegas, that just go in and get married, right? And then they drive out into the middle of the nowhere, and he ends up killing them. And he has no recollection of these killings. He has none at all. And then he goes back to Vegas, and then he repeats the problem, repeats the serial killerness. And so the road eventually becomes notorious for having people go missing. It already has that rumor that people go missing, so people don't even try to look for bodies out here, I guess. And then, I guess, he finally gets into a major car crash, and the ethereal karmic retributional judgment punishment starts to happen, and he's in some sort of purgatory where he has to relive his latest victim over and over and over, and he cannot wake up from it. That's my theory on what this film is about, on what's going on here. But you can formulate your own opinion, because naturally my theory is not confirmed. It's not actually what's going on, but I'm just basing it off of the clues that you can get, because you get no definitive answer. There's no definitive answer. You never see Thomas Jane kill anybody but the bloodied man who attacked him first. There's no other combat scenes, there's no other fighting, there's no confirmed killer outside of that one scene, and you don't even see that the bloodied man is actually 100% killed, because apparently he gets up out of the grave. He goes back to check the grave and there's no body. So you have no idea what's going on, and the film gives you no definitive answer. This is one of those experiences that you go in to watch the film just to get the story and formulate your own questions, and formulate your own answers to your own questions, because the film isn't going to 100% definitively answer them for you. It will give you a lot of hints, it will give you a lot of clues in many different directions, and you have to be the one to formulate the conclusion on what's going on in Dark Country.